Dr. Elora Miles was an unassuming woman who found her purpose in studying the mysteries of the universe. As an astrobiologist, she spent her days on the peaceful research colony known as Astris Station, nestled in the distant Obsidian sector. It was a place far from the bustling political struggles of the human empire, a place where the vast emptiness of space could still inspire wonder. There, Elora had found her passion in studying dormant alien life forms scattered across distant, barren planets. She had no interest in warfare, no desire for fame or fortune, just a boundless curiosity about the cosmos. Elora's work was solitary, methodical, and often slow-paced. Her mind was always focused on uncovering the secrets of strange fossils or ancient artifacts from long-dead species. The galaxy was filled with countless mysteries, many of which had never been fully understood. Yet, in her heart, she always felt that there was something more, something truly monumental waiting to be discovered. But she had no idea that this discovery would come at such a cost. Her task on Astris Station was clear: to research the Silent Fleet. The fleet, a long-forgotten relic of humanity's early days of interstellar exploration, had been abandoned millennia ago. No one truly understood what it was or why it had been left in the vast reaches of deep space. Some believed it was part of humanity's first attempt at conquering the stars, while others whispered that it was something more, a warning of sorts, a failed experiment, or a secret weapon. The fleet's ships were scattered across the galaxy, and their history was lost to time. Elora's assignment was to uncover its secrets, to understand why these ships had been abandoned, and what role they played in humanity's past. The research was important, but above all, Elora hoped to learn something that could bring peace to a galaxy that had been ravaged by centuries of conflict. One day, while working on an isolated asteroid in the outskirts of the sector, Elora's world was turned upside down. She had been investigating a mysterious ruin, believed to be a former outpost of the Silent Fleet, when her team uncovered something unexpected. Buried deep within the asteroid's core was a small, intricately crafted artifact. At first, it seemed like another relic of an ancient civilization, nothing more than a piece of strange technology. But upon closer inspection, Elora realized that this was no ordinary artifact. The object seemed to hum with energy, its surface covered in symbols she had never seen before. The artifact was a communication device, unlike anything Elora had ever studied. With a sense of awe, she carefully activated the device. The moment she did, a soft pulse of light emanated from it, and the entire station's systems flickered as the artifact came to life. Elora's heart raced as she tried to make sense of the data flooding her screens. It wasn't just a random transmission, it was a message. The words were encoded, a jumble of alien language mixed with a familiar human dialect. Yet, as Elora worked to decode it, the meaning became clear: humanity is now free. The message was simple, yet profound, as if it carried a weight beyond its words. But what did it mean? Who was it meant for? Before Elora could fully comprehend what had just happened, the ground beneath her feet seemed to shake. The stars outside the station flickered, as if the galaxy itself had responded to the message. Then, the impossible happened. The Silent Fleet, long thought to be dormant, awakened. All across the galaxy, ancient ships that had been lost to history began to hum with energy, their systems powering up after millennia of silence. Ships that had once drifted aimlessly through the cold void were now responding, coming to life with a power far beyond anything Elora had expected. This was no simple communication. It was a signal, one that was heard by more than just Elora's station. The fleet's reawakening sent shockwaves through the entire galaxy. The message had not only roused the fleet, but it had also triggered a series of responses from both the human empire and the various alien factions that had long coexisted in uneasy peace. Governments, factions, and rebel groups alike now realized that something far greater than they had imagined was at play. Elora, with her lack of military experience and her peaceful background, found herself at the center of this extraordinary event. The reawakening of the Silent Fleet was not just a scientific discovery, it was a galactic event. And now, the quiet scientist who had once only cared for knowledge was thrust into a maelstrom of political intrigue, danger, and uncertainty. The Empire, long dominated by the interests of powerful alien alliances, was thrown into a state of alarm. Meanwhile, factions that had once been silent now clamored for control over the fleet. The message had awakened something much more than ships. It had awakened the ambitions of entire civilizations. Alara, who had set out to uncover the secrets of an ancient fleet, now found herself caught in the crossfire of a galaxy that was about to be irrevocably changed. The Silent Fleet, with its mysterious origins and its cryptic message, held the key to humanity's future and possibly the galaxy's fate. Yet, despite the monumental discovery, Alara's heart remained heavy with uncertainty. What did it mean for humanity to be free? And more importantly, what would the galaxy's powerful factions do with this sudden shift in power? The answers to these questions lay hidden, buried deep within the Silent Fleet's secrets, and Alara was determined to uncover them, no matter the cost. But she knew that this journey would not be an easy one. The true meaning of the fleet's awakening was still a mystery, and so was its true purpose. The path ahead was filled with unknowns, and Alara's role in the coming conflict had only just begun. Alara stood at the command center of Astra Station, still grappling with the reality of the Silent Fleet's reawakening. The thrill she had felt when first discovering the artifact was quickly being replaced by a deep unease. The fleet, once thought to be a lost relic of humanity's past, was now the most powerful, coveted force in the galaxy. And it was no longer a mystery. The message that had triggered the fleet's activation had far-reaching consequences, and those consequences were becoming clearer with each passing hour. Across the galaxy, the human empire, a vast political and military machine once led by human supremacists, was in turmoil. The fleet's reactivation was perceived by the ruling class as a direct threat to their power. The Empire's leaders, having long since abandoned the idea of human dominance in favor of peaceful cooperation with alien species, now feared that the fleet could turn the balance of power back toward humanity. These leaders had placed their trust in powerful alien allies who helped them maintain peace in a galaxy teetering on the edge of chaos. But now, the fleet's sudden return was a wild card they couldn't control. On the other side, the rebels, those who had long fought against the Empire's weakening grip on humanity, saw the fleet as the key to restoring humanity's dominance. These rebels, secretly operating in the shadows, saw the fleet as a symbol of humanity's lost power, one that could change everything if they could seize control. To them, the fleet was not just a force of nature. It was the opportunity they had been waiting for to fight back against alien influence and reassert human supremacy. Alara, caught in the middle of this brewing storm, felt the weight of her position press on her. She had never wanted any part in politics or power struggles. She was a scientist, a researcher, someone who believed in truth, knowledge, and peace. But now, with the fate of the fleet and the future of humanity at stake, she was forced to confront a moral dilemma unlike any she had ever imagined. The more Alara learned about the fleet, the more conflicted she became. The Empire's leaders had never seen the Silent Fleet as anything more than a relic, a forgotten part of human history. They had preferred to focus on their alliances with alien species, hoping to build a more peaceful galaxy, one where humanity's past imperial ambitions could be forgotten. But the fleet's reawakening shattered that illusion. The fleet was no mere defensive force. It was designed to reset the entire galaxy. The Silent Fleet had been created not just to defend humanity, but to bring about a new order in the galaxy, one where the balance of power would be shifted whenever necessary. It was meant to awaken only when the galaxy was on the brink of collapse, when the political and social structures that govern the stars had become so corrupted that only a complete reset could restore balance. In other words, the fleet had been designed as a failsafe, a powerful weapon meant to act as a final solution in the event that all else failed. This revelation shook Alara to her core. The fleet wasn't just a weapon of war, it was a weapon of judgment. Its purpose was to cleanse the galaxy of the corrupt powers that had grown too powerful. And as she delved deeper into the fleet's ancient archives, Alara realized that it had been designed not to favor anyone's side, but to eradicate all those who threatened the greater good of the galaxy. Now Alara found herself at a crossroads. Should she side with the Empire, preserving the fragile peace they had built with alien races, even if it meant sacrificing the last remnants of human independence? Or should she support the rebels, risking galactic war in a bid to restore humanity's dominance? The Silent Fleet held the power to decide the fate of the galaxy, But in the wrong hands, it could also be the catalyst for an even greater war, one that could tear everything apart. But just as Alara began to feel the weight of this decision bearing down on her, a new, unexpected player entered the scene, the Voron. These shadowy beings had been thought to be extinct, remnants of an ancient alien species that had once roamed the galaxy before disappearing without a trace. No one had heard from them in centuries, and most believed they had been wiped out in the galactic wars that predated the current era. Yet, as Alara's investigation into the fleet's history deepened, the Voron made their presence known. Their advanced technology, long believed to be lost, suddenly reappeared, and they contacted Alara directly, offering her an unsettling proposition. "We know what the fleet is," the Voron emissary said, his voice calm yet laced with an eerie power. "And we know what it can do. But there is more you need to understand. The fleet is not merely a tool of destruction. It is a test, a key to something much greater." Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. The Voron, ancient and mysterious, now offered to share the full history of the Silent Fleet with her if she helped them achieve their ultimate goal. The Voron wanted to harness the fleet's power, not to reshape the galaxy, but to fulfill their own hidden agenda. They claimed to know of a force even older and more dangerous than the fleet itself, an ancient cosmic entity that the Voron had once tried to control but had failed. They proposed that, with Alara's help, they could reprogram the fleet to serve the will of the Voron, turning its destructive power toward a mysterious purpose that could reshape the very nature of existence itself. Alara's mind raced as she considered the implications. The Voron's offer was dangerous. If she agreed, she would be stepping into a web of intrigue and manipulation, tied to a species with its own goals, none of which she fully understood. But if she refused, she risked alienating a powerful faction that could prove indispensable to the survival of humanity. The Voron knew things that no one else did, and they were willing to share their knowledge, but at a price. The choices before Alara were overwhelming. She had wanted to uncover the truth behind the Silent Fleet, but now the truth was slipping away from her. The fleet's power had the potential to change everything, but in whose hands would it truly belong? And as the galaxy teetered on the edge of war, Alara was forced to question what was more dangerous: the fleet's power or the secrets that everyone, including herself, had yet to uncover. Alara's life had always been guided by a thirst for knowledge, the desire to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But as she delved deeper into the mysteries of the Silent Fleet, the truths she uncovered became more and more unsettling, pushing her to the very edge of her understanding. What began as an investigation into an ancient relic of humanity's past had grown into a terrifying revelation about the future of the entire galaxy. At first, the fleet's purpose had seemed straightforward. It was a forgotten weapon, a fleet of powerful ships that had been activated in response to an ancient call, a warning from a long-extinct civilization. But as Alara pieced together the fragmented histories, the fleet's true mission slowly came into focus, revealing a truth she could hardly believe. The Silent Fleet had never been created to defend humanity. It was created to preserve humanity at all costs. But not in the way she had assumed. The fleet wasn't intended to protect humanity from external threats. It wasn't a defensive force meant to ensure the survival of humanity's colonies. No, the fleet had been designed to safeguard the galaxy from humanity itself. The fleet's architects, long forgotten in the records of history, had foreseen a time when humanity's ambition and desire for power would lead it down a dark path. The galaxy, they knew, would one day be at risk from human factions intent on dominating every star, every planet. They had seen how humanity's growth had been marked by violence, war, and destruction. And they had known that, unless humanity could be stopped, it would bring the galaxy to the brink of annihilation. The fleet, Alara discovered, was a failsafe, a weapon of mass destruction hidden in plain sight, waiting for the moment when humanity's self-destructive tendencies would once again rise to the surface. It wasn't meant to fight for humanity. It was meant to fight against humanity. The fleet was designed to eliminate humanity's most dangerous factions, those who sought to dominate and enslave others, those who would risk everything for power. Its creators had realized that the greatest threat to the galaxy wasn't the alien species or the political powers that sought control, it was humanity itself. At the heart of this dark plan was the Eclipse Protocol, a fail-safe system built into the fleet's command structure. If triggered, the Eclipse Protocol would reset the galaxy's political order, wiping out the advanced civilizations that threatened the delicate balance of the stars. The fleet would deliver a devastating blow to all advanced species, ending the rise of any civilization powerful enough to upset the galaxy's fragile peace. It was a reset, a forced extinction of the galaxy's most dangerous species, including humanity itself if necessary. Allura's mind spun as she uncovered more about the protocol. The fleet had been dormant for millennia, its systems locked away, awaiting the moment when it would be needed to intervene. The message that had awakened the fleet, the cryptic transmission from the artifact, had been a signal. It had been a warning, sent out by the fleet's creators, activating the fleet's failsafe at a time when the galaxy was teetering on the edge of collapse. Humanity had grown too powerful, too reckless, and now the fleet had been awakened to prevent a future catastrophe. As the pieces of this horrific puzzle fell into place, Allura faced an impossible decision. Should she activate the Eclipse Protocol, resetting the galaxy's political structure, knowing it would bring the end of humanity's progress? Or should she shut it down, risking the galaxy plunging into an even darker conflict, where humanity's own creations might turn against it? Allura's heart ached as she considered the weight of her choices. If she triggered the Eclipse Protocol, the galaxy would be reset, and humanity would lose everything it had fought for: its advancements, its colonies, its very existence in the stars. But if she shut it down, she would be condemning the galaxy to the risk of humanity's destructive impulses, allowing the power struggles and conflicts to escalate to a point where war could wipe out entire civilizations. There was no easy answer. The stakes were beyond anything she had ever imagined. And yet, the truth of it was inescapable. The Silent Fleet was not just a weapon, it was a judge. It had been created to decide humanity's fate, to determine whether the galaxy could continue to exist in peace, or whether it would descend into a war that would end all life. Allura's thoughts were interrupted by a sudden transmission, one that sent a chill down her spine. The Voron, those mysterious alien beings who had been watching her every move, had made their intentions clear. They had no interest in the fleet's mission. They wanted the fleet for themselves, to turn its power toward their own ends. They saw the fleet as a tool to control not just the galaxy, but the very fabric of existence itself. "We know what the fleet is capable of," the Voron emissary's voice echoed through the comms, cold and calculating. "But there is more. The fleet's true purpose was never to protect or destroy, it was to bring about a new order. Humanity's time is over. You are too young to understand, but we can guide you. You can be part of something greater." The Voron's words haunted Allura. The idea that they could wield the fleet's power for their own purposes filled her with dread. What if the Voron had their own plan for the galaxy, one that was even darker than the Silent Fleet's original mission? What if they intended to use the fleet to impose their will on the universe, to create an even greater imbalance? Allura felt the weight of her responsibility pressing on her chest. If she activated the Eclipse Protocol, she would destroy everything humanity had worked for. But if she shut it down, the galaxy could fall into an even more destructive conflict, one where humanity's own creations would turn against them. And then there was the cost. Stopping the fleet would mean severing her connection with her homeworld. She would be forced to betray everything she had believed in, everything she had fought for, in order to prevent the galaxy's collapse. It would mean rejecting the idea of peace, rejecting the belief that humanity could evolve into something better. The decision was not just political, it was personal. Allura's entire worldview, the very foundation of her beliefs, was being torn apart. To make the right choice meant abandoning everything she had ever known. But there was no turning back. The fleet was awakening, and the galaxy's fate now rested in her hands. The moment of truth was upon her, and the path ahead would define the future of all life in the galaxy. Would she trigger the Eclipse Protocol, resetting everything, or would she find another way to stop the war before it consumed everything? As Allura gazed out into the infinite expanse of stars, she knew one thing for certain: whatever choice she made, it would cost her more than she could ever imagine. Allura stood before the heart of the Silent Fleet, the massive central command unit hovering in the vastness of space. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest. Around her, the fleet's ships glowed with a cold blue light, their dormant power now awake, their silent weapons ready to be unleashed. She'd come to the realization that there was no perfect solution. The galaxy, with all its rich histories, cultures, and alliances, could not be saved in its current form. Humanity's future had to be chosen, and in this moment, she was the one to decide. The Eclipse Protocol had been designed for moments like this, when the galaxy stood on the precipice of its own destruction. But it was also meant to serve as a final test, a challenge to humanity's ability to determine its own destiny. Alera's hand hovered over the control panel. She knew activating the Eclipse Protocol meant more than just destroying the galaxy's most dangerous civilizations. It meant a reset of everything: societies, systems, and the balance of power across the stars. She had read the reports, seen the data. The fleet's power was unimaginable, enough to wipe out empires, to erase entire species, to send the galaxy into a dark age from which it might never recover. Yet, there was something else, something deeper, something Alera had come to understand in the weeks leading to this moment. Humanity's greatest strength, its defining feature, was its ability to adapt, to change, to decide its own fate. The fleet wasn't a weapon of mindless destruction. It was a mirror that showed humanity where it stood, where it had faltered, and where it might rise again. This wasn't about salvation, it was about choice. Humanity had the power to shape its own future, but only if it was willing to make the hard decisions. She took a deep breath, the final decision clear in her mind. She activated the Eclipse Protocol, not as an act of destruction, but as a final statement of humanity's ability to choose its own fate. The fleet's ships powered up, their energy surging through the stars. A brilliant pulse of light exploded from the fleet, sweeping through the galaxy. Across the cosmos, entire civilizations vanished, their advanced technologies wiped out in an instant. Great space stations crumbled into dust. Planets fell silent, their once thriving populations reduced to nothing. The very fabric of the galaxy seemed to tremble as the fleet unleashed its power. But humanity was different. It endured. The fleet's blast was not a mindless destruction of all life. It selectively removed the most dangerous elements, those factions, those empires that had long sought to dominate the galaxy. It stripped them of their power, returning many of their worlds to a state of infancy, where no advanced civilization would arise again. But humanity, with all its flaws and contradictions, survived. The Empire, once a unified force, was fractured, its former leaders scattered and broken, but humanity itself endured. Alera had done it. The Eclipse Protocol had reset the galaxy's power structure, but it had also given humanity the chance to rebuild. Now, there was no more reliance on old alliances, no more power struggles between entrenched factions. It was up to humanity to rise from the ashes and rebuild something new. As the dust settled, the cold silence of space enveloped the galaxy once more. Alera breathed heavily, watching as the ship's systems began to stabilize. The immense power that had just been unleashed now began to retract, the fleet falling back into a dormant state, awaiting humanity's next step. That was when the final transmission arrived, cryptic, haunting. Humanity has passed the test. But who will lead it now? Alera froze, her heart skipping a beat. The message echoed through the command center, sending ripples through her thoughts. It was not a message of triumph, nor was it a question of victory. It was a challenge to humanity to answer a question that no one could have predicted. The test was not about survival. It was about leadership. It was about whether humanity, stripped of its old empires and alliances, could rise above its instinctual thirst for power and chaos. Could it learn from its past mistakes and build a future where it was not defined by war, but by choice? The realization settled over Alera like a heavy fog. The empire that had once ruled was no more. The old world had been wiped away, and in its place, a new humanity would need to emerge, one free from the weight of centralized control, free from the remnants of old divisions. But the question remained, who would lead it? The old systems had failed. The alien alliances that had once shaped human destiny were no longer relevant. Humanity was alone now, for the first time in centuries. It was up to the people, the colonies, the scattered remnants of the old empire to chart their own course. Each world would now have to decide for itself what kind of future it would pursue. There would be no singular leader, no overarching authority to guide them. It would be a decentralized, fragmented humanity, each colony vying for its own future, its own destiny. Alara knew that this was just the beginning. The war that had once raged in the stars, the war for power, for dominance, for control, had ended, but another war was about to begin. A war for humanity's soul. Could they overcome the primal instincts that had driven them to the brink of destruction, or would they fall back into the same patterns, repeating the mistakes of their ancestors? The galaxy was no longer defined by a single, unified human empire. It was now a mosaic of disparate colonies, each with its own vision for the future. But in the end, one question lingered over everything. Was humanity truly the superior species? Or was it simply the one that had survived long enough to inherit the mantle of the galaxy? Alara stared out into the vast expanse of stars, a chill running down her spine. She had made her choice. But the true test was still ahead. The galaxy had been reset, but humanity had to decide what kind of future it would create. ASC, the final transmission from the fleet, faded into the void. Alara could only wonder, had humanity truly passed the test? And if so, would it rise to become something more than it had ever been before? Or would it fall, as so many species before it had, to its own hubris? The story had ended, but the questions, those eternal questions, remain. The war for humanity's soul had only just begun.